Well, is the president teeing up to knock businesses back down? Word is he's got another executive order in his pocket to punish companies he deems are unpatriotic, those that set up overseas to save money on taxes and, they say, save jobs. To Fox Business Network's Charles Payne and Liz McDonald, who have a real problem with that if the president were to do a Democratic consultant, Jessica Ehrlich, who doesn't have a huge problem with it. Charles, what does he want to do? He wants to stop those that take advantage of this inversion thing. Right?
Yeah, he would like to use an executive order to stop this. As you pointed out in the tease, it's perfectly legal. And I think he scored a huge victory today when the CEO of Walgreens, they made an acquisition of a foreign company. They had an opportunity to do inversion. Instead, they said, no, we won't. Consequently, the company today lost almost $10 billion in value.
Is that right?
And subsequently, it would lose billions of dollars in profits that they did not have to pay. So essentially, the CEO of Walgreens destroyed capitalism, shareholder rights. He not only blinked, he gave the president so much ammunition. And I'm telling you, watch. I hope he's not standing side by side when the president makes this announcement. But the president will bring up Walgreens doing the patriotic thing. Instead, it was one of the most shameful moves I've seen a CEO do in a long time.
Sounds like the guy folds it like a cheap suit, then, Lizzie.
Yeah, and the thing
is,
for
good reason. Yeah, it's threatening.
What's happening here is that the information in this debate is really, really poor.
Sure.
U.S. corporations, their effective rate is 17%. That's what the GAO says. But all in, when you count state and local, it can shoot higher to 50. And some of these guys have big corporate, tax writing, tax businesses on the side. Like GE has a huge tax unit to help them lower their bills. The question is, what do we do to create jobs back home? Remember the president a few years ago named Jeffrey Immelt as president. He was in charge of the President's Council on Competitiveness, and the president back then was talking about cutting that corporate rate down. I don't know where that debate is right now.
I think it's a good argument. Jessica, I don't like this financial chicanery any more than the next guy. I want to come out as that. There shouldn't be a need for these loopholes, and they're very legal loopholes, if we just had a friendlier tax code or one that wasn't so prohibitive that companies are incentivized to do this sort of thing. Isn't that the problem?
Getting punted around Congress now for years. We're not seeing any movement on it. And so we're left with a situation where you've got a tax loophole here that has sort of been discovered since 2011. I mean,
but that's not what I'm asking. That's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking it. I'm asking.
Well, it's about $2 trillion worth.
I know, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Are we doing all these sort of financial hoops when the simple solution could be to make the tax code so favorable that they wouldn't be tempted to use them perfectly legal in the first place? What do you think?
Yeah, let's get rid of some of these loopholes and reduce the overall tax rate down to more like a 20%, which has been thrown out before, and get things more in order. I mean, I think that would make things much simpler.
I mean, listen,
but you're still going to have, that's why we have regulation. People are still going to go after this. And,
Walgreens' tax rate was at 37%. Goldman Sachs and S&P is saying, a lot of these companies, half of their sales is overseas, but the U.S. corporations are facing tax rates that are way higher than their European rivals, all in.
Even adjusted for all this other stuff?
Even adjusted. I mean, it's higher than France, Canada,
then I think
but that was why Walgreens did not, that's why Walgreens didn't do this, is specifically because, like, Janet Capital, who's one of their activist hedge funds that were involved, said they ran the numbers and it would not affect Walgreens' bottom line if they did not do an inversion.
No, it would have taken $800 million. No, Barclays said it would have hit Walgreens hard, and in fact, it would have lowered Walgreens. It would lowered Walgreens' tax bill by $800 million.
And that's where they were looking at going.
But I do seriously want to. What I say, what's good for the goose should be good for all the gander here. And if you don't mind me, we're ripping that maxim up. But Charles, my view is then go after Apple. I want you to stop for now. I will get back to you. Go after Apple then for making 100 million plus iPhones right now for the new incarnation this fall in China and much of Asia. Nothing about that. And I don't begrudge Apple doing it. I'm just saying then pursue them all.
Hey, Apple's got $100 billion outside of this country it won't bring back.
Yeah, why aren't they evil?
EMAC talked about GE. I mean, we can go down the list. It's not. Here's the thing. I bet you President Obama has got an accountant. Why did he get an accountant? To help him get a lower tax rate. That's what we all have accountants for. By the way, this
Wasn't
country...
his effective rate too 17% on his taxes? 18%?
Out of a tax revolt.
That's a good point. And, you know, the thing is the president constitutionally allowed to change the tax law? I thought Congress's power was to tax.
Well,
doing an executive action here is so controversial, Neil.
Go ahead, Jess.
And they're actually, the Treasury is who's looking at this right now. I mean, the Treasury is looking at taking administrative action as opposed to the president actually having to do an executive
Don't you
order.
find it odd, Jess? The president was saying this and bemoaning this last week, and lo and behold, the Treasury takes it up in terms of an agency action this week. Methinks there's a little bit of connection there.
Well, yeah, and there's a growing issue here, and there's a growing problem. You've got estimated, Bloomberg says it's about $2 trillion
No, there's a growing
out there
issue with our tax code that prompts companies to do. Believe me, Jess, I don't think they're saints. I don't think they're saints. They just chase money. But we all but push them out the door. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I didn't think money needed a passport, but with this Congress, and the way they're behaving, money may need a passport, Neil.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Well, look, and you've got you've got the head of the Ways and Means. You've got the chair of the Ways and Means Committee who actually proposed some actual tax reform this year, and it's just
I'm on board with you then, Jess. Tax reform is fine. If we made it simpler and better, that we didn't need a lot of these Byzantine rules and all.
But we keep talking about that. Now, listen, inversion didn't just pop up in 2011. By the way, talking about loopholes, Warren Buffett complains about all these amazing loopholes that he gets away with. Everyone's got loopholes. We seek them out. Just lower the tax rate. If you really want to just cut this, but it's a great campaign issue, the unpatriotic capitalistic system, the 1%, we know where the president's going with this, and it's despicable. Fix it.
All right, so I'm going to put you down as a maybe on the president's policy here. In the